Hi everybody, this is Alan Helton with Memento, here again to talk about our game Acorn Hunt. Now, if you missed our previous demo, we talked a little bit about how Acorn Hunt is designed to take advantage of a bunch of the different types of cache items. We use 5 different types of cache items, including sets, sorted sets, dictionaries, lists, and cache items to build a game. Today, we're going to go over a brand new feature released by Memento called Topics, a pub/sub event messaging system. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be incorporating topics into Acorn Hunt. And to do that, we need to refactor it a little bit. So let's go in and take a look at the architecture diagram after we update what we had to incorporate topics. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the caches and see how we've adjusted for this change. In the game cache, we've added 2 different topics into the mix. We have player joined and player left. Now both of these are channels to send events over from publishers to subscribers. Now we can have 1 or we can have 1,000 subscribers. What's going to happen is when we publish an event to the topic, Memento is going to automatically go and send that message to everyone who's subscribed so we can kick off asynchronous processes. In our leaderboard cache, we've added the points updated topic. So what's going to end up happening inside of Acorn Hunt is when the leaderboard's been updated, we want to asynchronously push a message out to all the players to let them know that the score has changed. Now, architecturally, we're actually looking at a pretty significant lift from what we've had before. Before, we really only had a WebSocket microservice, and we were using that WebSocket to do a bunch of different things that we probably shouldn't have been doing. So what we've done is we've built it the right way. We've taken some of the extra functionality out of the WebSocket and created a container-based service using AWS App Runner. Now, we used App Runner instead of other native serverless services because topics require a stateful connection for subscribers, which means the ephemeral nature of something like Lambda doesn't work because the execution environment will spin up, process a request, and spin down. And when that execution environment is spun down, the connection between the subscriber and the Memento server breaks, and we no longer have a way to notify subscribers when a topic has been published to. So what we've done instead is we've created a stateful application using the serverless container service App Runner. Now what's going to end up happening, the difference here is that the App Runner service inside of AWS is going to build and manage a container-based application for us that is long-lived out in the internet, and we'll be able to build our channels and build our subscribers and scale in a serverless way. So what happens when we start one of these containers backed by App Runner is the very first thing we're going to do is initialize our topic subscriptions. We're going to initialize that topic client from Memento and subscribe to those 3 topics that we were talking about earlier, that player left, player joined, and the points updated topics. The other things that we've done is we've moved some of the operations from the control plane API, from the WebSocket API, over here into this long-lived game microservice. So we've added the ability to create a new game, to get a list of games, join a game, and leave a game, respectively. And really, there's not a whole lot of difference as far as the execution goes. What we've done here is moved everything over and started that async operation. So we've backed all this by a REST API. It's a Express app in Node.js. And we want to get the response back to the caller as quickly as possible. So we don't want to spend time broadcasting events to all the WebSocket connections while the caller is waiting for a response on our REST endpoint. So what we've done is in the processing of joining a game or leaving a game, we publish to these player left and player joined topic to kick off an asynchronous workflow. An asynchronous workflow will fire an EventBridge event. The EventBridge event will have a rule that goes over to the WebSocket, and then the WebSocket will publish the information back to the rest of the players in the game. Now, the reason that we go from Memento topic to EventBridge to API Gateway WebSocket is because Momento doesn't currently have the ability to run in a browser. So because of that, we have to use AWS API Gateway WebSockets to facilitate that communication between the server and the client. Okay, that sounds really cool. Let's take a look at the code and see how we've done this. This is a Node.js Express application that's running in a container backed by AWS App Runner. And as we all know, code goes from top to bottom. So the very first thing that it does, set up the Express app, and then it runs this messenger.configure function. If we take a look at that, you can see that inside of the messenger class, we are getting the Momento topic client, and then we're subscribing to those 3 topics that we mentioned earlier: player joined, player left, and points updated. Now, what these topics represent are in-game events. So whenever one person specifically joins a game, we're going to publish to the player joined topic, and then we're going to react to it and send a message down to the other players inside of that game to give them a message in their in-game chat to say that somebody just joined. And conversely, when somebody leaves, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to trigger that player left event and then send a message down to the browser to say, this person left. Then lastly, we have the points. Whenever somebody scores a point, we'll publish a topic that says, this person scored a point. Here's the updated leaderboard. Now, when we do a subscription to a topic, we specify 2 different event handlers. We have an onItem and an onError in our JavaScript SDK. So onItem, you can see we have onPlayerJoined. If we take a look at that code, what we do is we parse the value that comes in from the subscription, and then we're enriching that data. And then the last thing we're doing in here is we're doing that broadcast message, which is going to result in triggering an event inside of EventBridge, which we saw goes and ultimately publishes to the WebSocket connections. So we're pulling all the connections out of Momento. We are saying send this same message to all the connections that are part of this game. Go. And this is all done asynchronously. So everything that's happening here, it's happening after we've already returned a response back to the caller. So let's see what that looks like. One of the calls that we have is join game. Now, if we go in here to the game controller, we have our join function, and it initializes both a cache client and a topic client. The cache client is to load the information of the current game, and then the topic client is to publish that message to all the people that are already in that game. You see here we're doing some validations, we're loading the user session, and then we're getting ready to send our WebSocket message here with that notification. So we update the player list, we're initializing their score on the leaderboard, we are saving off their connection, their WebSocket connection into the game, we're updating the person record with the game that they're joining, and then lastly what we're doing here is we're doing a publish to the player joined topic, and that's going to trigger that event handler that we had just looked at in the messenger class. And then we return back the response to the caller. So let's see what that looks like inside of Acorn Hunt. So if we sign in with Honeybadger, and we sign in with Mo the Squirrel, and you can see that we already have Elm Street in here as a game. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to create a new game. We're going to do Oak City as our game. Confirm. And we'll enter in, you can see Acorn Hunt in all of its glory so far. You can see Honeybadger join the chat. On the right-hand side from the Squirrel, we're going to refresh our game list, and we're going to join Oak City. As we join, it's going to go and hit that endpoint inside of App Runner, and it's going to do everything that we saw it do. It's going to register the game with my user. It's going to add me to the player list. You saw the player list update automatically. And then the last thing it's going to do is going to kick off that async process through our topics and push the WebSocket notification into the chat. And you saw as soon as I joined, Mo the Squirrel has joined the chat. And conversely, if Mo the Squirrel leaves, we will remove ourselves from the game. And you can see that we also got that WebSocket notification over here. And we've removed Moto Squirrel from the player list.
Well, that's it for the demo. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me as I walked us through it. We're super excited about the release of Memento Topics, and we're even more excited to see what you build with it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let us know about it. You can reach us through our website or through our community Discord. We'll see you out there.